Valorant, a game of peace and relaxation. Wow, really proud of this video. Shame nobody's gonna watch it. I guess I can't really blame it though. It's my first video, and you know, the algorithm. Should I even check? Why not? Wait.
Don't worry.
What?
You're still going to love the experience.
Last video, I said that if enough of you asked for a part 2, I'd make one. So here it is. In this video, I'll talk about the upgrades, how to download and use the calculator. I'll answer any questions you guys left in the comments, and then I'll go further into detail how it all works in case you want to tinker with the source code yourself. I know a lot of you wanted me to make Viper and Killjoy's mollies, but I thought you guys deserve better. So instead, I'm gonna add every single agent's respective molly. I know it sounds crazy because it took me a month to make Brimstone's molly, but it's not that bad, because all mollies are in one of 3 categories: long range, mid range, and short range. There's also some weird cases, but we don't talk about those. Or I can make a part 3 and turn this into a series. Even though I know a lot of you really wanted it, I just couldn't fit Sova's darts, which have 3 types of bounces and varying ranges. I considered using alternate methods, but I just couldn't code fast enough. So, instead, I'm going to concentrate on making all the long range and mid range mollies. The main thing to turn a Brimstone molly to a Viper snakebite is that Viper's mollies instantly explode when they touch the ground, but bounce against walls, while Brimstone mollies will bounce against anything 3 times before exploding. To implement this, I started by copying the original molly and removing the 3 bounce rule. Then, I added a new hitbox and made it poke out the bottom. Whenever it collides with anything else, it will do the same effect as having bounced 3 times did to the molly. And it's done. Just a quick debug later, and then it's done. Maybe a bit of a longer debug. In the meantime, I'll explain this more clearly. It's basically like if we got a landmine and turned it to a frisbee, then put it upside down, and so whenever you throw it, it can bounce, but if it touches the ground, the button will compress and it'll explode. Okay, now it works. With this, we now have all the long range mollies, and now we just have to figure out the throw strength of the mid range mollies and either apply the 3 bounce rule or the floor touching rule. Just like last time, we start by going to a standardized location, then shoot it where it will bounce in some memorable landmark, and have it land in some specific location. Then I'll just keep doing micro adjustments and compare the gameplay footage with my simulation until they match perfectly. And now I have the force for all the mid-range lineups, which turns out to be exactly 75% of a long-range shot. Finally, I made different objects for each ability, and now we have all the long-range and mid-range mollies. This is the point of the video where I would like to be able to say that you can go on Steam and get the calculator for yourself, but the truth is, making a nice, easy to understand UI is really hard, and I'm loving this project, so I'm willing to make it, but if you want to see that, it'll have to be a part 3 or maybe even a part 4 to this video. So at least for now, I've left a Google Drive link in the description below where you can download the calculator and the source code. But hey, maybe you're that one guy that actually wanted the Unity project. And I do mean guy, because look at this statistic. And talking about statistics, I just wanted to let you know that only 10% of all my viewers watching are actually watching in English. So everyone else, I'm not really sure what you're doing. Hopefully you're enjoying the visuals. In all seriousness, the first thing you're gonna have to do is download the Unity Hub. I'll leave a link in the description to a tutorial I used when I was starting off, and just make sure to download the version of 2021.3.21 F1. After that, just drag the file into your Unity projects, and when you open it, you should see this familiar site. Then, in the hierarchy, you're gonna select the object Big Brain Breamy Boy, And then in the inspector, you can ignore everything except this Molly variable input. A lot of objects will appear, 4 of which are going to be the 4 kinds of Mollys, and you're going to read the description to see which abilities they represent. Next, in the scene editor, you're going to use Unity's built-in tools to move both the spike and brimstone around to wherever you want to be shooting from and shooting at. The last thing you want to worry about is the speed regulator, which controls how fast the simulation is going to run. Remember that the faster it goes, the less accurate it is. And so then you're just going to press play, and I'll let this run in the background in real time just so you can see how long you should expect it to take. After this, a replay Molly is going to appear that leaves a trail behind, and if the replay Molly doesn't land at the same place as the Molly it's trying to replay, that means you were running the simulation too quickly and it was inaccurate. Then comes your most asked question of how I use this to aim in Valorant. So no, I'm not just careful to recreate it, and I'm also not just winging it. I was originally planning to use a secondary program that tracks the movement of my mouse and uses standardized spawn positions to figure out where I'm aiming and when I'm aiming in the right place, even without communicating with Valorant at all. But I found out this actually goes against Valorant terms and conditions, so instead of doing that, what you should do is go into a custom game and then just test it. I know that this feels like just the traditional way of finding lineups, but it promises much faster. Here you can see the footage of me actually finding the lineup I just calculated. It typically only takes 3 to 5 shots. You don't need any help from any teammates. I promise it is a lot faster. I'm pretty sure I already answered all of the questions related to the calculator in the previous parts, but in case you still can't get it to work, I've started a Discord where you can ask me for help, and I'll talk a little bit more about that and other channel related updates at the end of the video. So instead, for this part of the video, I'm going to pay a bit of an homage to my very first viewer. I may never know who you are, but I do know you found the channel when you were looking up I Can't Stop the Loneliness, and the thing is, this calculator can do that too. All you have to do is set up the spike on top of brimstone, press play. Once the calculator is done, recreate that in game, and there you go, problem solved. The other question I do want to answer here is that no, I don't have that much coding experience. I have taken classes in the past, but every technique I use for this project is mostly self-taught. So even though it did take me a month to make this, don't feel discouraged to try to tinker with or even add to the source code yourself. I'm sure most of you watching could make something really interesting. So for those of you who don't only want to know what the calculator is doing, but how it's doing it, I'll try to explain it as quickly as possible. Brimstone is the object that keeps track of the mollies that have been shot and that are waiting to be shot. So then, at the beginning of the simulation, an initial molly spawns, which scans Brimstone for the information of its launch trajectory, and right before it starts moving, it will send a message to Brimstone basically saying, you can send the next one. Brimstone will then add 1 to his internal counter and change the information for the next launch, which he will then spawn. It will scan him, and the cycle repeats. Brimstone will continue doing this until he either receives the message that a lineup has already been found, or he runs out of possible angles to shoot. In the meantime, mollies are just flying with the basic physics that I explained in the last video until they bounce, at which point they'll calculate if they have enough velocity and height to reach the spike given a perfect trajectory and bounces, and if they can't, they self-destruct. Then finally, if they've reached the maximum bounce count, or in the case of Viper's snakebite or Killjoy swarms, they've touched the floor, they'll calculate their distance to the spike, and if it's too far, they'll self-destruct, but if it's close enough, it will send a global message that a lineup has been found, and we can stop searching. At which point every other molly self-destructs, and the winning molly will send its information to the spike so that it remembers what angle worked, and so that it can spawn in the replay molly. Sadly, this video I don't have any cool clips of me using the calculator for an outro, but instead I thought I'd take this time to talk a bit about the channel. I wanted to start off by saying a huge thank you to everyone for the massive support. I never thought last video would get past 1,000 views, let alone 40,000 views, and almost 2,000 subscribers at this point. I genuinely really appreciate it. I also wanted to let you know that I am planning to keep making videos, and I hope you can support me throughout this journey. I highly doubt I can keep up the whole one video a week thing, but maybe one video every 2 weeks. I'm also not just planning to do Valorant videos. As a matter of fact, next video isn't Valorant related, but if you enjoy this content, don't worry, the one after that I'm pretty sure is just going to be part 3. I want to turn this into a full series that culminates with an app that I can publish on Steam for anyone to download. So yeah, if you want to stay updated on progress for future videos, join the Discord in the description. I'll try to stay active and answer everyone's questions.